Back here, the Survivor Know-It-Alls on the Fan Cred app, and here we are right after the Survivor Know-It-Alls on a Wednesday night, episode number 13 of the Survivor Edge of Extinction, and we want to hear from you. You can call in on the fan line, and you can give us your thoughts, your questions, everything that you always wanted to know from Stephen Fishback or even me. Here on Fan Cred, all you have to do is jump on the fan line, click the black button on the app. Steven, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm feeling it's just really fun. It's a great episode, and it's like great to get these questions. You know, after the after show, it's the after show. Very excited about this tonight.
That's right. We want to hear from people, and I think that the thing that the Survivor fans want to talk about is Rick Devens. Is Rick Devens, and I've been talking about this, the Rick Devens Rorschach test. Some people see Rick Devens and they see, wow, a man among men, Rick Devens, an American hero, a national treasure, Rick Devens. Other people say Rick Devens is ruining Survivor. Rick Devens is everything that's wrong with Survivor. And Rick Devens is just trying to ruin it for me.
Well, Josh Wigler had a very funny tweet earlier where he posted just like he wrote Rick Devens, then he had a picture of the famous blue and gold dress, or whatever it was, blue and what?
Yeah,
and it's really, really true. Where it's
Laurel and Yanni.
Exactly. He's like the most divisive contestant, I think, and that I can remember recently. Where some people just adore him and some people loathe him, and it's
we live in polarized times.
We do live in polarized times. There's people on the pro Rick Devens and the anti Rick Devens side of the political aisle, and I think he's like hurt by the existence of a couple of winners in recent years who just seemed to really dominate the idol finding and the screen time. Certainly Ben was one of those. Mike to a lesser extent. I think Mike was.
Mike won by way of immunity. Mike
beasted out.
The thing
really.
that Mike had, and I think that Rick is sort of like in the middle of those things where that I think that in Survivor Worlds Apart, with all due respect to the cast of Worlds Apart, Mike was sort of like the only likable person among a very, unlikable group, with all due respect to the future Mrs. Anglam and Mama C, and the great Will Sims, too. That Mike was sort of the person who, of that group, you felt good rooting about. Ben, although was
Shireen.
But towards the end. Ben, at the end there, he was there with a bunch of viable winner candidates and then ended up being the winner. This feels more like Mike Holloway to me.
Well, right. I mean, in as much as like it does seem like Rick is the but so as someone else noted that the social politics of that little kind of interaction between Lauren and I think it was Billy Geese who pointed this out, between Lauren and Gavin and Victoria, like that was a really interesting moment, and that could have been like really explored. Like, Lauren is proposing something, but she's kind of like wants to maybe like, is okay leaving Victoria out of it. And Gavin brings it to Victoria, and like he's in the middle, and she's not totally into it. And like, it was presented very quickly. But that kind of moment is what Survivor used to be about, right? It was these sort of subtle social manipulation. So it's not like it's not happening at all. It's just not happening as visibly. And like, if you're a producer and you've got Rick Devens, how are you not putting your camera on him?
Mm-hmm. And we've got a ton of comments coming in. We want to hear from you on the fan line. So go ahead and click on the black button, and then you can dial in and talk to Stephen and I. Here's some of what people are saying on the chat so far, Stephen. Jason is a Rick Devens guy in the chat. Noah says, do you think that the group of three, Gavin, Lauren, and Victoria, will still try to vote for Devens to flush his idol? Could they have flushed the idol tonight?
Well, no, because he was immune.
Could they put? Let's see. Could they put two votes on Julie, and then Aurora still goes home if that was the case?
But then that doesn't do anything, because if Aurora is still going to have the max number of votes, like what does putting any votes on Julie accomplish?
Well, if okay, so if you knew Julie and Rick Devens were voting for Aurora, okay, could you put
Right.
your 3 votes on Julie?
But then if you wanted Julie to go home, that's what you would do. But I
Lauren
don't
didn't
think that
want that.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I do think it's questionable. I mean, we were just talking about it on the know-it-alls, and I also think for Gavin and Victoria, it makes more sense to vote out Aurora than to vote out Julie.
Okay. All right. Adam says, I got shades of Tony with the idol chase here.
Yeah, it was some antics. The idol chase though was Wu and Spencer, right? Is that, or was there a Tony idol chase?
Tony at the beginning of Game Changers. I know that.
Oh, Game Changers, right.
Then John says, who do you think is each person's ideal final 3? That's tough. That's tough.
I don't know. I would think they would all want to be. Yeah, I think they all want to be there with Julie and one other person.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Lauren, you probably want to be there with Julie, and I don't know, like it's hard to know with like Gavin versus Victoria. Like, who do you think is the bigger jury threat of those two, Rob?
Gavin or Victoria?
Yeah.
I have not seen Victoria really have a lot of public speaking ability. Gavin, no great public speaker either, but I feel like that Gavin has like the sympathy card of that he just got married, and he's also won a couple of immunities. Victoria has done more stuff behind the scenes, but I don't know how many people really know what Victoria did.
Yeah, and a good tribal council performance, final tribal council performance could change everything. But I kind of agree that at least just on the surface, as much as I'm a Victoria fan, which I am tremendously, I think Gavin has maybe a better public face with an immunity win, and he kind of maybe gets partial credit for taking out War Dog. He certainly seemed to spearhead that.
I think he's just very likable.
Yeah, exactly. He's a big Survivor fan. As you said, he just got married. I believe you said that would be some sympathy votes for getting married. Some people think marriage is a celebratory thing, but not.
Well, it depends how long you've been married. If it's a celebratory thing. David says, do we have any info on Devin's fire making skills? Can he win the Final 4 fire making challenge? I think one of the things I'm going to do this week is I'm going to go back and listen to Josh Wigler's first one out. And I want to hear if Rick Devens talked about whether he practiced fire making.
Yeah. He seems to have done everything right, in terms of like what he's done to prepare and whenever his moves, I feel like are always pretty savvy. So I bet he's practiced.
Okay. Steven, I'm going to say it one more time to the people that are in the chat and are talking, that push the button and jump on the fan line, because here's what's going to happen. People are being shy right now. Nobody wants to be first to come on the fan line, but then everybody's going to want on. And then at some point, Steven has to go to bed tonight, and then we're not going to get to you. So
I'm trying to heal, Rob. I'm still a very wounded man, lest you forget. And I hope to
stop being shy, make big moves, push the button on the fan line to jump on, and then we will talk to you instead of just writing in the chat. Okay.
Imagine that we're the jury and you're Rick Devens.
Yes. Okay. Entertain us. Mike wants to know, does Joe win if he comes back?
I mean, I think, we just talked about this a little bit on the know-it-alls. I think if it's Joe versus Rick wins, but I really think that the Edge of Extinction person is going to have an edge over almost anybody else.
That's why they call it the Edge of Extinction.
Yeah.
Emily says, I think that right now they should be focused on the best chance to get the common enemy out. It could come down to Devens competing in the fire making challenge. They'd wish they kept Aurora around to beat him. Yeah, I do think that this is going to be a common refrain from these people of like, we should have kept that Aurora around.
Yeah, Aurora was such a frequently strong challenge competitor and apparently had good fire making skills. So the more I think about it, the more I think that it was a mistake for Gavin and for Victoria. Maybe makes sense for Lauren. I don't know. I'm on the fence because, like, why would you vote out Julie? No, so obviously Gavin and Victoria should have voted out Lauren. Yeah.
Especially considering now that she has an idol. Mike in Toronto is on the fan line. And let's go ahead and check with Mike. I'm laughing that Courtney in the chat says Survivor 41, Rick Stands versus Rick Ops.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah,
see how it breaks down.
All right, Mike in Toronto, are you pumped up for tomorrow night's live Big Brother Canada 7 finale?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Boys are dominant.
Pretty boy. Okay, so you're excited for the pretty boys.
I'm sad that Adam left tonight, but hey, you know what I mean? They made the right decision. Adam was going to win the games hand down.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Mike, what's going on?
I just want to know, like, if Joe comes back from Edge of Extinction, does he have an actual chance to really win this game? Because he's been sitting with the jury the whole time, right? Building that favor.
Yeah.
Like, does anyone have a real shot when they're chilling with the jury the whole time, right? Like, they're just...
It doesn't feel like it. He certainly has a chance, but we've seen almost nothing from Joe since he went to the Edge of Extinction. He went to the Edge of Extinction. We saw him the first episode that he got there, and then other than we saw him talking with Kelly Wentworth, we've seen almost nothing from Joe Angelo.
Well, today he said, like, be the awesome, amazing human being that you are, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think just his practice of the challenges pre game, I think gives him the edge.
Yeah. Well, tell me, who have we seen a lot of on the Edge of Extinction?
Reem.
Yeah. I'm kind of tired of that a bit, you know.
Oh my God, you're breaking our heart here,
dude. Where do you get off? Whether you're saying that you're tired of me? Screw you, dude.
It's like
I hope Kira wins, Big Brother.
Man.
Scared to say the word Reem on this podcast.
You guys are back on Survivor, and you guys are hilarious.
I would love Rob to be back on Survivor just to watch him suffer.
I think I'd be fine.
Nah, he'd suffer.
Yeah.
Dude, do you know how hard it is? Okay. All right. Mike, thank you so much. Okay. All right. We'll keep our fingers crossed for Joe Anglim. Still think that Joe doesn't get engaged if he's the winner of the season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that he would wait for the finale for the big move?
Yeah, wait for the finale. That's a non-winner move. Get engaged during the season. Okay. Yeah. Sean is in, I believe, Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Let's see if we can get Sean here on the fan line. Okay. So we'll see. Okay, Sean, how are you?
Hey,
how's Sean?
All right.
Hey, how you doing?
I didn't know the person before me was going to ask, but what do you all think of Reem being able to kind of narrate all of Extinction Island?
I know.
It seems like every time somebody gets there, Reem's the only one who speaks.
Sean, what have you done?
You know why I'm the only one that speaks, dude? Because I've been here for 30 effing something days, okay? And I'm the only one that has anything to say. Everybody else is boring and lame. So that's why I get all the airtime. I'm the Rick Devens of the Edge of Extinction. Where do you think Rick Devens got it from? He was with me. She's the hostess.
She's basically the hostess. I mean, it is like it really is. It's like Reem and a bunch of other people are on an Edge of Extinction.
Are they prepping us for Reem to get eliminated from the jury? Like they have to get all of her.
Do you get eliminated from the jury?
No, Reem is going to give us great jury questions.
They're preparing us for a future season where she's going to be one of the coaches that gets to counsel the survivors.
Maybe she'll coach Edge of Extinction.
Yes, when they come out of the game.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that.
I just watched the War Dog Reem argument.
Oh yeah, great with that.
It was pretty great.
You and I are oil and water. Go sleep in the ocean. Like, oh my god! Oh my god!
There.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. And did we see War Dog reading his letter? Thank you, Sean.
Well, we did. We saw like a brief clip of like the first and the last page.
Okay. Well, I wonder if War Dog's letters to himself are anything like his tweets.
Well, it is signed.
Michelle
War Dog
from Salt
actually.
Lake City is on the line too.
War Dog posted the screenshots that they showed on the show.
Oh,
and I think he's and one of them said, "I am the way." It ends with "I am the War Dog."
I am the.
Which is also his Twitter handle.
Yes, that is. Okay.
Hello,
Michelle.
Hi.
Michelle, hi.
What's going on?
Hi.
What's up?
How are
I'm
you?
a huge fan. I'm great.
Oh, thank you.
I do have to also shout out my boy Joe here.
Oh, you have some Joe Anglem pop art.
Yeah, well, he's from like an hour north of me, so I have to, right?
Okay. Did Joe make that picture, or it's just of him?
He did. He made it, and it's signed also. I don't know if you can see it, but I got it at one of the watch parties that he did recently.
Okay. All right. Do you hear Steven?
I don't.
I think we lost Steven's. This is okay with it. Finally, you got an improvement. Okay, Michelle, go ahead and ask your question. We can finally get a word in.
My question for you guys is, how do you feel about the Edge of Extinction, and what would you change about it if they were to do it again?
Okay. I love Reem. I don't love the Edge of Extinction. I don't think that it has worked for adding much to the show. I mean, I think that it's been fun to keep the people that are in that we didn't get to know well early in the season, keep them around. Like, we got to know Keith a little bit more and Reem a little bit more, and obviously it worked in the case of Rick Devens coming back, but I don't want them to ever do this again and keep it going past the merge.
Hey, can you hear me?
Right.
Yes. Okay. Steven is back.
Yeah. Woohoo!
I feel like the problem with the Edge of Extinction is like, it's almost a problem of airtime, where it's like it might have been an interesting twist, but we see so little of it that it's hard to know like what's really going on over there. And I think like the idea of it, of like what happens when we push these people to their true physical limits, is a kind of interesting idea.
Red herring.
But we don't see it.
We don't see it.
Yeah, we never saw it, exactly. And so that's been frustrating.
Yeah. And other than Reem, having like these moments with people, that there has been nothing else compelling from the Edge of Extinction.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and having it affect the in-game play, I think, is really annoying.
Yeah.
And then also giving the people pre-merge a second chance to get back in, I think, was just kind of the last straw for me.
So I don't mind this to the people pre-merge having a chance to get back in. I mind the people post-merge getting a chance to get back in.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm saying the second chance, like
yes.
after
one
Rick
chance
Devens got in,
fine.
they should have left. Yeah.
The only, I mean, and I'm sort of on the fence about it being like a big challenge too, where like, at least Lil had to like earn, win a vote to get back in. Like that's like a Survivor thing to win.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So should the Edge of Extinction people, Steven, what if it was this? The Edge of Extinction people, okay, they have a challenge against, and maybe they have to pick like their 5 champions to go up against the final 5 in the game. And then if that happens, then they have a vote of who gets back in.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. Like, I think if there was a social political element to Edge of Extinction, like that would be what Survivor's about. Like, I think that would be like a little bit more interesting.
Actually,
or if like the existing people in the game had to pick someone or something. Like,
yeah. How about this? Okay, here's my pitch. Okay, tell me if you like this idea better. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing, but instead, there's too many people on the Edge of Extinction. There's 11 people on the Edge of Extinction.
Voting them off?
No, they have a schoolyard pick. They pick their 5 teams. It's a 3-team challenge. If the survivors themselves win, because I like the idea of the final 5 having to compete together as a tribe now to make sure nobody comes back in. And then the 2 Edge of Extinction teams play. And then whatever Edge of Extinction team wins, they get to vote somebody back in of that 5.
What happens if the survivors win? Nobody comes back.
Nobody comes back in. And there's also somebody who's going to be left out of the schoolyard pick. They're eliminated. They go right to Ponderosa.
Oh my God. Those people must be so excited.
There are a ton of ways they could have made it more interesting. I feel like it's just kind of been a little bit of a flop.
Win or lose, those people on Edge have to be so excited. It's like, even if I don't win I'm getting a shower tonight.
Yeah, we saw how happy the people were when they thought they were going to be out of the game.
Let us home.
Yeah. Here's Lucas from Louisiana is on the fan line. Let's go ahead and bring Lucas on to talk with Stephen Fishback and I on a Wednesday night after Survivor.
Hello.
Hey, Lucas. How are you?
Good. My question for you, it's a little off of this particular season,
Okay.
Looking more towards the future of season 40, just around the corner. Of course,
Two corners.
Yeah, two corners, but they're going to record it this next year. So there's a lot of predictions what they would do for it. They're also going to do something special, and the leading theory, I believe, is a Heroes vs. Villains 2. So
That's what I'm hearing.
So I was wondering what who you would like for a season like that.
Well,
Wait,
I always thought-
Rick Devens is a hero or a villain, Steven? Depends who you ask.
Oh yeah, it depends who you ask. Exactly. There'll be a vote, a fan vote to determine which tribe Rick Devens is on. I think Christian is a great hero. Angelina, a classic villain. I think you got Rob Cesternino here is a hero, old school hero. I don't know, I always thought Kelly Wentworth and Joe would be great heroes, and certainly Wentworth, I kind of thought they were saving for a Heroes versus Villains season. But
do they
obviously,
have 10 villains? Do they have 10 villains? Could you bring back? Could Dominic Abate be?
Dominic is an obvious
Yeah,
villain.
love
It'd be cool to put
Dominic.
Wendell on the heroes tribe and Dominic on the villains tribe. Chris Noble, great villain. They definitely have 10 villains.
Loki villain that I'd love to see back.
I think
Jay
Loki from the
Millennials vs.
Marvel
Jets.
movies.
Yeah. Who'd you say?
Jay from Millennials.
Oh yeah,
vs.
Jay's another
Jets.
great one. There's like Hannah Shapiro. I guess she's not really a hero or a villain.
War Dog could be a villain.
War Dog's a villain, but
Or
Victoria
Ron.
could be a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to Survivor 40 Heroes versus Villains 2 coming up in just less than 1 year. So be on the lookout for that one. Okay. Ethan in Atlanta is on the fan line. Let's go ahead and talk to Ethan tonight. Okay. As we're talking about Survivor 38 about the future. Ethan, how
Hey.
are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Okay, so it's you guys kept on talking about the Rock's perspective and asking why Victoria, Gavin, and Lauren would stay together, but on the flip side, why would the other three stay together? If you're either Julie or the Edge of Extinction person, shouldn't you just go with those three, vote out the other one, and then assume that in the next round that Rick will go home, and then just win fire making and say that you play different than those other two?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. But the Edge of Extinction person, I think, is probably more likely to join the majority to get through a safer vote. But I think that Stephen was saying that, well, it might be a good idea to put the votes on the Edge of Extinction person. But I think that then you risk that person saying, well, then screw you, dude. I'm going to go ahead and go for a 3-3. I'll go to Rocks.
I just don't. I think. Oh, go ahead.
If you're going to try to vote me out.
I mean, I had nothing.
Oh, my thought is that ultimately at the final six, people are not going to be making decisions based on alliances or groups.
Yeah.
That it will be the biggest threat. I think when Rob was talking about 3-3, the premise was that both Rick and the Edge of Extinction person were immune. So let's say Rick has his idol, the Edge of Extinction has, is it possible at all that Gavin, Victoria, and Lauren stick together in order to protect their trio for the final four? I don't think so, because I really think all those people will want to be there with Julie, but I could be wrong about that too. I mean, what's your? I think maybe a little further out they were. Well, I don't know. What's your perspective?
I was just thinking that the person coming back or Julie would automatically hop over to those three and make it an easy vote to vote out whoever doesn't win immunity, assuming that one of them doesn't.
Yeah, no, I totally. Oh my gosh, well, we've got a. We got a puppet show now.
Yeah.
Well, who's subbing in for your edge? You got to be Reem. Got to be the.
I need Julie, and then do I have Joe? I think I have Joe.
Yeah.
I think I have Joe.
Joe looked skinny, by the way, and I mean, he has lost some poundage in his weeks out there. I mean, understandably, subsisting on nothing, but he looks thin.
Yeah, no, I thought a lot of them looked.
Yeah, they look, but Joe's a huge individual.
I don't think Joe's coming back because I think my kids took my Joe.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully not my wife. Yeah, hopefully not my wife.
Sign?
Yeah.
Not even Miss Cesternino this time.
Yeah. I was playing with these last week, and then I had my Aubrey cut out, and my older son said, "Oh, you have Hannah?" I said, "No, it's not Hannah. It's Aubrey."
Wow.
And this is
Oh,
and then Rick Devens was
I
Josh
hope you
Wigler.
punished him. I hope you punished him like terribly for the
He
screw up.
he gets them confused. He gets them confused.
Yeah, and how can they learn if there aren't beatings?
Yeah, this is Josh Wigler. He said Josh Wigler and Hannah. Okay, Alex in Green Bay is on the fan line. Let's go ahead and patch him in. Alex in Green Bay. Alex,
Oh.
what is it like living in Green Bay? Okay.
Was that
Yeah.
Probst?
Yes. This is sensitive question asking. Okay. All right, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, sure. So I was going to ask you guys. I was hoping you could kind of set the table for the finale coming up here. Do you think the returnee from Extinction Island? Would you expect them to get any sort of advantage the way that Devins did? Maybe an idol, but any sort of advantage?
Steven,
No.
what do you think? Nothing.
I don't think so. I think too late. It's too late in the game. I think it makes sense when it's at the merge, and like what they want is for like it kind of to sort of be interesting socially and politically. You know, I thought that I really liked the half idol that they gave him. I thought that was a really fun idea. I don't think that they'll get anything coming back this time.
Could they get the clue to an advantage?
But what would the advantage be? Like an extra vote, I guess is what you're saying.
Oh, an extra
An
vote
extra-
is interesting instead of instead of the idol.
An extra vote would actually, yeah, that might be like a,
people screw that up. The extra vote.
right. Yeah, I've heard. Dan, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it? I'm totally
Dan
blanking
Foley.
his name. Dan Foley. I really Dan Lembo is also present in my mind. It's hard to think of any other Dan.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the extra vote might be interesting because it gives that person like voting leverage, but it's like we want that person to face hurdles. You know, we want that person to earn their way into the end to the extent that they can earn their way into the end.
Mhm.
I was wondering if like maybe even an advantage in the immunity challenge.
No.
But what about like an idol getting played at the final 6 there? Would it be hidden again for the 5?
Yes.
Oh God. Wouldn't that be a nightmare? I think they got to change the idol rules. Five has got to be just like.
I mean,
open
I
field.
believe that's what happened in Survivor HHH.
Yeah, that is what happened in Survivor HHH.
Yeah, and it gets played. It gets played at 6, and then you find it again at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Lauren or for Devins, I would guess then 2.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's in the cards. It's in the cards.
Yeah.
And then one for you was about the final 4 fire making. Is that just a fixture now? And what do you think of
Yeah.
that?
I don't hate it as much as I used to. I mean, the fact that you know, I mean, the only thing that it does is that it opens up like I actually haven't articulated it. I'm curious what you guys think. Like, what does it do to the alliances? You know, it's like you don't need as much of an alliance anymore. You know, you don't need like we were talking about Gavin, Victoria, and Lauren protecting each other or coming down to rocks together. Like, and my argument against why that would happen is because, you know, unlike in Survivor 27, there's not the same urgency to protect a tight alliance in order to get into the final 3 together. I think it adds to the randomness. That means it works against tight alliances. So it's less, once again, it's less a game of social strategy, but probably more fun to watch.
I think that what it does is I think it does break up like bigger alliances to some degree. And I think that people end up, I think that what we saw in Survivor David versus Goliath was there were more alliances of 2, like 2 people,
Right.
like if I win, I'll take you. If I win, I'll take you. If I win, I take you. And then I do think it increases the odds of somebody who is more of like an irritant or an antagonist being the third person in that final 3, as opposed to a group of 3 people making it down all the way to the end, where like Kim, Chelsea, and Sabrina working together and being a 3 and getting it to the end. I think you have more. It's more likely that you have 2 people and then somebody sneaking in at the end who is a third party.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it actually works against their intention, right? Because like what they want is to stop big cohesive blocks from just sticking together. But you know, the final 3 was always this sort of like threat where you really had to have a tight group. So that question of like who's actually in my final 3 was very present for all the players. Now I wonder if, you know, there's a sense that, well, I don't really need that tight a final 3. I just have to like slip into 4 and then I have a shot.
if you know how to make the fire. I think that's
but people are always, people are always sort of like putting off the scary perspective, right? Like they're always like, well, as long as I get to 4, I have a shot. Like, yes, like we know that person needs to then be able to deliver.
It sort of fell off the radar because it was kind of uneventful last time out with the Mike versus Kara fire making, where when Kara went out at 4, nobody was really up in arms about it. So it was where it was controversial in season 35 and season 36, but really had almost no juice in season 37.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Thanks, Alex. All right.
Who lost in season?
Who
lost in season
36?
36? Yeah.
It was Angela versus Wendell. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt in Massachusetts is on the fan line. Let's go ahead and bring in Matthew. He's on the line. Okay. In Massachusetts. Matt.
Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
How are you?
So I was just wondering, would a Devins win be too obvious? Because it seems like everything's headed that way after this episode where he was the shining star. But sometimes I've thought that. I thought that with Ben. I thought that with Mike Holloway. I thought that with Tyson, and they still went on to win. So, which direction are we going to see here? Where he?
Oh, you mean like
where he just steamrolls to
Is it edit wise?
Yeah, somewhat edit wise. Yeah, I mean, also in the game though, he's just dominating everyone right now.
Your question is like, do we think he won't win because it seems so likely that he will win?
To me, it seems too obvious. Like, I think that it would be disappointing because of how obvious it's become.
Well, but that's like, a couple. I mean, I like you said, that's something that I used to think like with Mike, but then you have like examples of Mike and Ben, and it's just like so dominant. And they ended up winning, right? And like even Jeremy, everyone thought was the argument against Jeremy was that he was too obvious, and then he obviously ended up winning.
So. I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast and off the podcast. I don't think anybody else is giving them enough stuff to, if they had great stuff from Lauren or Gavin, they would give that to us. That they don't have anything else except for Rick Devens. So maybe he goes on to win, and maybe people say it was obvious, but. They didn't have the other stuff. I think that this cast has been kind of weak in terms of delivering.
But it's also like a question of like privileging a certain type of thing, right? Like it's always more fun to film like the guy running through the woods and like jumping out and yelling boo.
Sure.
Than it is like
he's been a big character, and I can't say the same for anybody else that's still in the game.
Yeah.
And, I feel like that there have been fun moments from Victoria, but she's not, she's not a big character. She's more of like, sarcastic and dry. I don't know how much that she's giving them.
Yeah.
So,
it seems fair enough.
I know it might be obvious, but I think that this is all they have, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So like that's always the, when we talk about like edit, we talk about ultimately like is the content are you seeing more of someone than you should be given like their centrality to the story, and I don't think that's true with Devens. Like Devens is the central character of the story. Like I don't think he's getting some like disproportionate edit, which also means like I don't even think he necessarily wins because he is so central to the story.
David is in New York is on the line. Go ahead.
I was just saying, he finds the idols, he wins the immunities, everyone wants him out. He's performing at tribal council. Like he is like the as you like to say, the straw that serves the drink.
I think that the show, what they want to do, I think they want to give you like a Dominic and a Wendell. And I know that that's a unique situation. They both go to the end, but they want to give you, as many viable people that you say, oh, it could be this person, it could be that person. But they have to have the footage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
What's up?
I'm doing well. So I was going to ask another question, but I'm kind of into this conversation about the whole Devens edit situation. Obviously, as you guys have noted, he's been quite the controversial character on the mean streets of Reddit. And so I'm kind of curious. So I was thinking about the Devens elimination episode, and to me that was such a weird episode. You had David. Weird. You had David Wright saying, it was the most spectacular, emotional, fantastic tribal council he had ever been a part of. And when we're talking about Devin's ability to win this game and get to the end and get the jury votes, it has me thinking this would be the first winner ever who got voted out and is coming back into the game. And that's just Survivor's way of making that a little bit more palatable, that it was just this, this really nice tribal council and there was no animosity. And that tribal council is really what sticks out to me.
I thought so. I thought that was going to be like them setting up a Lesu kind of reunion at the merge, where like Devins would come back. There was no animosity. Obviously, that was not the case at all, right? When he actually returned, there was a tremendous amount of animosity. I mean, it's not a terrible like how would they position if the person eventually won the game and was voted out, yeah, maybe they would like soft pedal that and make it look like, not soft pedal it, but maybe they would like emphasize the elements that were not vitriolic.
But at the same time, all those things were said at that tribal council. It's not like they went back in post and put them in.
So
but it's always a choice.
So I guess that's right, Stephen. So I guess that's kind of my question to you guys as two former survivors. How much can Edit control the tone of these tribal councils? Because I mean, there had to have been some nice stuff, some bad stuff, some confessionals they include, some they don't. So it might come down to a framing issue.
My experience has been that it is overall very accurate. Certainly with Tribal, which gets relative to the rest of Survivor, Tribal actually gets like a pretty big amount of airtime proportionate to its actual length. With 3 days boiled down into 20 minutes of airtime for Camp Life versus maybe an hour or 2 hours boiled down into 20 minutes of airtime for Tribal. So I've always found that to be like a decently
But that being said, like if War Dog and Rick Devens got into it and had like a blowout at that tribal council, like
that's
they would show
that.
That's
what I'm saying.
They're going to show you the best. They're going to show you the best stuff if they have it. Maybe tonally, they wanted to make that tribal council, maybe a little bit sweeter in terms of like the music score of what's going on there. But I mean, Kelly said it was emotional. David said it was emotional. So if there was conflict happening there, then I think they'd still show it. I think they'd give us the better episode at the expense of maybe the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. All right. David, thank you. All right. So we got nobody else on the fan line. So if you got some final comments or if somebody else wants to jump in, speak now or forever hold your peace, as we are 1 week away, Stephen, where in 1 week's time we will know the winner of Survivor: The Edge of Extinction.
Well, yeah. Like how wild! 1 week from now, I'll be just getting on the horn with Hannah.
Yes, it'll all be happening. We'll have a reunion show. I think that one of my predictions for next week, I think it's going to be the shortest reunion show of all time.
Yeah, almost definitely. I mean, the last one was super truncated too, right? It was like a really 20 minutes, 30 minutes reunion.
I think if you watch it on like CBS All Access, I want to say the last one was like 16 minutes or something like that.
Really?
Because, once they take the commercials out and it starts. All right. Let's see. We got John from Michigan. Will be the last call if we can patch him through. I think that my over under on the reunion time is going to be 12 minutes of reunion.
Wow, that is short, but I agree. It will.
John,
hello,
hey
John
guys.
from Michigan.
How you guys doing?
Doing great.
How are you?
How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just like one last thing to close this out. I want you guys. I know it's hard. I want you to call your shot. Who's taking it home next week?
I mean, if I have to choose, I would pick Rick only because I don't think that there's a really other viable option. I'm not all in on Rick winning.
I'm all in on Rick winning.
Really? All right. I mean, I would pick Rick as well. Then. I mean, I just don't see who else it could be. I'll go Rick,
especially after tonight, just because he has an idol moving forward. So so then he's going to be safe at least one of these next two votes. Figure if he wins immunity at one of these next two, preferably if he can win immunity at 6, then he's got the idol at 5. Then he's in the fire making at 4, and then who could beat him at 3?
And he's basically in the same position that Nick was going into the finale, except obviously that he didn't have a challenge beast coming back from, like, presumably a challenge beast coming, right? Like, it's such a huge problem, right? To have someone who's like inherently good at challenges coming back from Edge of Extinction. But I would pick Rick.
I like Lauren. I do. I mean, she still has an idol too. I think she's gotten. We're seeing more and more through the last couple of weeks. There she is. Seeing more and more through the last couple of weeks, her kind of explaining her moves a little bit more. So I think
she's been more visible. She could be in the finals there.
And it's true. Like so much depends on like turning it on at the right time, you know. And if now is sort of Lauren's like spike, like I wouldn't be, you know, that would be. I mean, my only issue with Lauren's story so far has been that so much of it is focused on her physical discomfort, which is not a story that we typically see with the winner of Survivor. You know, it's a lot of it is her hunger, how cold she is, you know, how warm she is.
Not recently, but in the beginning, yeah.
Right. But I mean, throughout, like, it's not something we typically see with the person who wins. And that was, you know, Devin in Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. One thing that people pointed out about his edit at the time, or his story at the time, was that it was similarly all about he was hungry. He like was passed out in the sand, you know, and I kind of see Lauren as more like that character than I do see her as like the a winner. Like she more reminds me of him, someone who is strategic, really has a strong impact on the game, maybe underestimated by her peers, but who's being used more to kind of show the physical hardships of the experience.
Okay.
Good point.
All right, John, thank you. All right, Stephen, we've said it all.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yes. All right.
It's been so fun doing this fan cred with you. It's been so fun podcasting with you. Another season wrapped.
Another season in the books. I'm gonna be at the finale. I don't know if I'm gonna know anybody at the finale.
Oh, so sad.
No,
sad.
Usually, I get to hang out with Josh Wigler. He's not going to be there.
Where's Josh going to be?
He's gonna be home. Game of Thrones finale is going to be next Sunday night.
Wow, wild.
So
he's just going to be preparing himself.
His body is ready. Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Stephen Fishback, of course, you can follow at Stephen Fishback on Twitter. Thanks, everybody over at FanCred for making this happen again. So great to talk to you guys live. Be sure to check out all of the podcasts coming up here in the next couple of days. Very excited about the show with Christian as well. Thanks to Cam behind the scenes. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Steve, anything else?
No, that's great.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye.